Hey gifted crafters, welcome back to my channel. For those of you tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ. Well, I think you guys are getting the hang of this trivia thing. Robin, you seem to be the little guru there, and Johanna didn't do too bad, but I think I got everybody on that last question. For those of you that didn't catch it, the first answer was zipper, the second one was basting, the third one was needle, and the last one was wood, balsa wood. And I'm going to show you because I happen to have some balsa wood. I use this on my Cricut because you could also do a lot of things on your Cricut machine with balsa wood. It is pretty thin and flexible. It kind of bends a little bit. So, you know, you got to be really careful not to do too much with it. But yes, you can do a lot with balsa wood. And you can find it in any local craft store. So if you don't have some and you want to try something new, this is a great little project because you can find a lot of things out there to do with balsa wood. But that's just one of the trivia questions that we had, and this was the answer. So I thought it was pretty neat, and I did have some on hand, so I thought it would be a good idea to just kind of show it to you guys in case you've never seen it before. But you know, this one that I got came, I think it's 8.5 by 11 sheets. But they come in all different sizes and things that you can buy. So just check your local craft store because they have them out there. Okay, so if you can see me and hear me, please let me know in the chat. I'm just going to do a quick technology check. See here. Oh, alrighty. So we have Robin, we have Nana 31331. Hi, how are you? 1 minute tips. Joanna, Robin, Boricua Sewing and Crafts. Let's see. I think that we're good here. Wow, you guys are from all over the place. Johanna's from Illinois. Nana, you're from Georgia. Wow. Robin. Oh my gosh. Wow, you guys from all over the place, huh? Well, I'm down in sunny South Florida, and it's a little bit stormy today. So I'm hoping I don't have any issues. We did lose a little bit of electricity this past week, but it's been on and off because it's been so stormy. But then it kind of clears up. So, you know, just bear with me if you hear a lot of thundering and stuff. Right now, it seems to not be raining outside, so we should be okay. So let's get started because I have so many things that I want to cover. So last week, if you tuned into the live, we talked about SPC. Sew it, press it, cut it. And we were talking about getting that perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I reviewed a couple of the tools that I had on hand that can help you achieve that. So if you didn't catch that, you know, try to go back and just watch the live from last week because we showed a couple of items that you might be interested in and that might help you get a better seam allowance for all the projects that you're working on. Alrighty, so today's topic I'm really excited about because today we're going to be embroidering on cardstock. And I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but I had a lot of fun with this. And you can make so many things with the cardstock paper and you can embroider it. And this can be on a single needle machine. I'm sure it can be on a multi-needle too. I only have a single needle machine. I have the SE1900 and I had a blast with this project. And I'm going to show you a couple of things that I made with cardstock, and I'll go through the steps on how I put that together. So what you're going to need in order to do this is cardstock paper. And it's not just any cardstock paper. You're going to need a heavyweight cardstock. And I can tell you now that this is one that I purchased at Michael's. And if you're watching the video live right now, I can tell you Michael's is currently having a sale, at least in my area. So check your local Michael's store. They're having a sale on cardstock paper, buy one, get one free. And I do a lot of projects on my Cricut machine. I make cards and things like that. So I went ahead and took advantage of the sale. And I specifically got this one. This is just white cardstock paper. It's 110 pound paper. Like, this is the real heavyweight paper. And you can tell when you purchase it, like if you were to feel the paper, you could see, two here, you could see how heavy it is. And you can actually feel the difference in your hand when you compare it against a normal cardstock paper with a lighter weight. You definitely want to have a heavier weight because your needle is going to punch holes and bring the thread through this. And if you have a light cardstock, it could rip apart. So you don't want to do this with light cardstock. You definitely want heavy duty cardstock paper. Now, I just got the plain white color, but they have all kinds of colors available. I just think that for me, it's better bang for my buck if I get the white, only because of the different designs that are out there. You're going to have all kinds of different thread colors going through on the design that you pick. So, you know, I think white is probably the best. They also have like beige, or you can go with a black, or, you know, all different colors. But this is just one that I purchased. They have some other ones that I was able to pick up, not necessarily for this project, but just because it was on sale. This is one, but this is, when you want to compare it, this one is a 65 weight. So it's very different in terms of the thickness of the actual cardstock. So you want to be mindful of that. I did use 110 weight, and this worked pretty well. I haven't tried it with the 65, and I don't think it's going to work too well, but it will also depend on your design. So the design that you use cannot be a very dense design, because if it's too heavy of a design, it will rip the paper. Now, I found that if you go out there and you can try to look for designs that are made specifically for card making, you can also make bookmarks with this as well. So that's something that you can look for. I found a bunch of designs out there, and I'm going to show you what I was able to make in just a minute. Let me just show you a couple more that I got. They're kind of heavy, so give me a minute here. This one is another one that I got in Michael's. It's also 65 weight, but it's a bigger size, and I just prefer this size cardstock when I'm working on my Cricut machine, because I like to make multiple cards at a time, so it just makes it a little bit easier for me. And then this is one that I got. This is from the Paper Studio, and I believe the Paper Studio is the one that's on sale. But this one has a lot of pastel colors and a little bit of metallic on it. So the papers are really pretty. So you can see those. I mean, I think they're gorgeous. You can make so many beautiful cards with that. But let me just pause right there, because I know I gave you a lot of information right there. Let me just see if anybody has any questions. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Evelyn says, I have done postcards and sent them in the mail. I put a plastic cover over them. Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't put any plastic over it, but you could definitely do that to protect it. Let's see. Nana says, great idea to Evelyn. Joanna says, I have a Cricut, but I have not used it yet. So I'm very interested if you have videos and using. Oh my God, Johanna, there's so many things you can do on that Cricut. I mean, that really is just a workhorse machine. I do all kinds of things on the Cricut, from cards to, you know, if you want to do sublimation, if you want to do t-shirts, there's just so many projects that you can do. You can do things on your Cricut with paper, with vinyl, with the balsa wood. You can do foil on your cards if you want to do foil. I mean, there's just a ton of projects that are out there. I can't remember. I don't think I have any Cricut related ones. I'll have to go back and check, but I don't think I do, but I probably should make a couple out there just so you guys have them. But there's just so many things you can do. I know Jennifer Maker is another YouTube channel, and she's got nothing but Cricut stuff out there, and she is an amazing person. She does so many things with that Cricut, and I love the way she teaches. It's very easy to follow, step by step. You know, I check out her channel. She does a ton of stuff there. I actually did a ton of her projects, and I did a couple of things that she had. So check her out because she's really good on the Cricut. So she's my go-to girl for Cricut. Okay, let's see. Mariko says that method would make a great, unique Christmas card. Yes, it does. And I made a number of cards. And let me just show you a couple of things that I was able to make. Okay. So here's one. Let me just move these out of the way. Get a better look. And this is the first card. It says, "Welcome, baby." And it has some clouds and some stars and, you know, little Teddy wrapped up in a blanket. So I hope you guys can see that pretty good. Okay. And this didn't take too long at all either. I think no more than maybe 15-20 minutes. I mean, each design is going to, you know, be a little bit different, but the cards, you know, it's really easy to do. I mean, this really didn't take long at all, but it is really adorable. And then what I did in the back, I have a backing here so you can write a little note. You know, you can do these several different ways. So this is just the first one. The second one that I did was this one here. Oops, I got them all backwards. Okay, this one here says "Bundle of Joy." And it's just a little baby on sleeping on a little moon. And I think that's super cute. And again, I did put a backing so you could write a note in the back. You could attach it to a gift, you know. And one of the things that they could do, you know, because people normally get cards and then they just kind of toss them. But because this is embroidered, you can actually frame them, or you can, you know, put them in a nursery or something. You know, if this is their theme for their room that they're making the nursery, and you know, they can do the card, you give them the gift, and then write a little note, maybe a message that you want the baby to read, like, you know, 10-20 years later, so they remember you. You know, do a little memento message, and then you can put it in a frame and they can hang it in the room. So, you know, just a little memento type thing. So I think it's really cute, you know. So that's two of them here that I made. Now these other two are a little bit different. And this one says, it's just a card, and it says, "Thank you so much." Get that there? Yeah. And on this one, I did it a little bit differently, because what I did was, instead of just putting the insert, I made it a card that you know, actually open. and you can write, and it has, you know, the flap on there. But you can also then take it and put it in a frame. You know, there's so many different designs, and this one is just a thank you card. You know, oh, okay, if you hear my bird chirping back there, for those of you that don't know, I do have a bird, and her name is Sunshine. And you can probably see her. Where is she? Here in that little corner, we have her little camera. But she's my little girl. Her name is Sunshine, and she's getting a little loud right now. So if you hear that, it's just her squawking away. You know, it's kind of in the morning. I don't know. She's got attitude this morning. What can I tell you? I don't know what's going on. But I did pick up, and I have to show you this because I just love it. I picked up two things in Hobby Lobby that I thought were so cute. I couldn't resist. So I'm going to introduce you to Mr. and Mrs. Sunshine. And I thought these were the cutest things in Hobby Lobby. I could not resist. Ooh, walking away, so I guess she agreed. And I thought it was the funniest thing, and I put it right next to her cage, and she didn't like them. She did not like them at all. But this is Mr. and Mrs. Sunshine, and she's Little Miss Sunshine. So we got the little family going, you know. My sister has her dog Mellow. I got Sunshine. So, you know, I just think, you know, this is my little bird family. I thought it was really cute. They have, you know, they dress them up in clothes and everything. They have this little bow and the little hat. I mean, this is really, really cute. Alrighty, let me see. Let me just pause right here. See what we got out here. Oh, my sister says, Sunshine. Let's see. Nana says cute. Robin says very cute. Mello is jealous. Yeah, he might get jealous, but he'll always be my favorite. He knows Titi loves him. All right. Boricua says she loves that card. Nana's very pretty. Robin says beautiful. It's a great idea for framing the card. Absolutely, you know, because at least, you know, for cards, you know, people get them and then they throw them away. At least this is something that, you know, they can actually use after. And, you know, you can decorate your home putting it on a frame. There's so many things that you can do with it. So I just thought that these were perfect. Now, Evelyn's asking, where did you get these designs? There's a lot of different designs. If you just search for embroidery card designs or embroidery bookmark designs, there's a whole bunch. These specifically I bought from Designs by Juju, and she had these designs and I purchased them. And she was having some kind of sale, I think sometime, I think it's ending sometime this week, I'm not sure, but check out her site. And there's so, I mean, X amount that you can get. I forget what the whole sale was, but you know, I think you spend like $20 or something and you get a whole bunch of bonus things. So I was just looking for, you know, unique things to do, and I ran into this one. So let me just show you the last one that I did. This one is a little dog, and it says, "Hi, just because." So let's see if I can get this one close. And I thought that was cute. They didn't have a golden doodle, so I couldn't do Mellow, but they did have this dog, and it is cute. But I'm sure that you could personalize these, and I'm sure you could find all kinds of designs. Like, this was just me playing around, and I found just these, and I decided to just do these for now. But I do have other designs. I didn't get to stitch them all out yet. But there's so many that you can do. And you can probably just take your SE1900 or whatever embroidery machine they have, look for designs that are not very dense, and look for, like little outlines. Like they have these preset designs like the heart. I'm sure you could do that, and you can just, add a name to it, or, there's so many things that you can do. Just be creative. This is just taking the design that's out there, and there's tons of other ones there, but you can try to create your own, just using the machine. Just be very careful on and stay away from the dense designs, okay? Alrighty. Let's see. Puerto Rico's it's too funny. Hey, Crafty Puerto Rican, how are you? Thanks for joining. Nana's so cute. I have to check them out. Says 1 minute tips. Alrighty. So I'm glad you guys like that. Now I'm just gonna walk you through how you can make that. So the first thing we want to talk about in order to make this is what stabilizer to use. So there's a few different ones that you can use. I am using the cutaway stabilizer, and I'm sorry, the tearaway stabilizer, but you could also use the cutaway stabilizer, and some people use sticky stabilizer. So what you're going to want to do, and let me just kind of move these over, is if you're using the tearaway stabilizer, you're not going to tear anything away. So think of it like you can use tearaway, but you got to treat it like cutaway. You cannot tear it away, because if you do, you will rip out the stitches from the card. Because remember, we're dealing with cardstock, and cardstock, although it is a heavy cardstock that you're using, it's still pretty delicate. So you can rip out the stitches if you try to rip off that stabilizer, like if you were working with a fabric. So be very mindful of that. So that's the stabilizer that I used. And the first step that you would do for this project is to just hoop your stabilizer onto your hoop. Put your stabilizer on the hoop. And what you're going to do with that is then you're going to bring it to your machine, and the first thing it's going to do is going to stitch a placement line, which is basically just a square. That's all you're going to have. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the cardstock that you have, and you're going to cut it to size. Now, there's a whole bunch of different sizes that you can get these designs for. I'm specifically doing a 5x7, but I've seen smaller ones, 4x4, and there's all kinds of different ones. So check the if you bought the design, check the design to see what the size is. Now this was a 5x7, so once you have your placement line on your stabilizer, you're going to want to take some AK2000 or any type of adhesive. Right, it's a temporary adhesive, and you can get this at any of the craft stores, Joann's, Michael's, there any of the stores that you purchase your items from. And what you can do is just take some of this, spray it lightly. It doesn't have to be a ton of it on there. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna line up the basting stitch line that it draws out. You're going to put your card on that line. So it's basically just covering this here, right? So then you stick it onto this, and then you're going to take this hoop and put it back onto your machine. Now, once you do that, you'll go ahead and you'll stitch out the rest of the design. So you'll do all your color changes, whatever your design requires is what you're going to want to do. But before you put it to do the design, one thing that I did as just a precaution is I took some tape, and all I did was take a couple pieces of tape and I just put some on the corners. I think I had some here. Yeah, I had some. All I did was just like this, not too much. And you don't have to worry about it, touching the hoop, You know, you just want to secure it. That's all you're doing. And I did all 4 corners because I just didn't want the paper to slip anywhere. So once you have that in place, you know, it's pretty solid between the spray adhesive and the tape. This paper really isn't going to go anywhere. It's pretty solid. So now you take this and you put it back onto your machine, let it stitch out. It'll do the whole design, change all the colors, you know, whatever it is that you need to do. And one thing that I did, I didn't do it on the first card that I did, which was this one. I did not cut my jump stitches in between the color changes. I let the whole thing run out. And then at the end is when I cut the jump stitches. But boy, I found it more difficult doing it that way because at least for this design, you know, it had a lot of clouds and things here that made it really hard to get in there and cut it. So what I would recommend, instead of doing the entire design and then cutting the jump stitches, I would recommend that in between your color changes, try to cut those jump stitches as much as you can. You don't have to do all of them, but it's going to make it a lot easier in the end, because when you're struggling to get those jump stitches out, you know, and then you're dealing with paper, it's not like fabric, so it can be a little tricky. But, you know, of course, if you don't have, you know, you're going to want to use your stitches, your scissors. I use my snips. So you're going to want to use either your snips or, of course, you know, I have my curved scissors as well. These are really the 2 that I used to cut everything. And that, again, you can find at your local craft store. And that's pretty much all the tools that I needed just to create the actual card, the top of the card. So what now you have to decide, and let me see if I missed anything here. What you now have to decide is the back of the card. So at this point now, you've taken this out of your hoop. You now have your card, right? So what you need to decide is, how do you want to do the back? Do you want to have that flap, or do you just want to have it as just a note card like this? You know, it's either one works. It's really just a matter of preference. But when I did the first one, I just did it as like a note. And so what I did was I took another piece of cardstock. I used a colored cardstock because I didn't want to do just white. Again, I wanted to add a little bit of color. So I cut that out to be 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And that's for me using a 5 by 7 design. So it all depends, you know, on the size that you're doing. But what you really, the goal, it doesn't really even have to be exact. You could cut it the same size, but if you want to leave that little bit of a border just to make the color pop a little bit, you know, it's kind of nicer to do it that way because it just shows a little bit better. So you can do it that way and, you know, have it like this, or you can do it the other way where I just took the paper, folded it in half, I creased it, and when I creased it, let me show you one thing that I did have. I used, this is a clover, and I used this to turn my corners on my fabric, but I also use this to do the creases. And this just gives it a really clean fold on here, because it's cardstock and it's heavy, so it's not that easy to fold sometimes. But what I did was just use this to kind of put this down, and then once I did that, you know, I was able to just use it as my back piece. So how did I get the embroidery adhesed to the actual cardstock? Well, what I did was, there's a few things that you can do, right? Well, the way I did it was I used double-sided tape, and any double-sided tape, even from the dollar store. Or another thing you could use if you wanted it to kind of pop, you can use those adhesive dots, you know, that kind of raise it up a little bit. You could use that too. But I used double-sided tape. And all I did was on the back of the embroidery, you know, once I take out that embroidery from the hoop, you have all the stabilizer still attached to it. So you don't rip it off. Like I said, you take the scissors and you cut that away, right? So you're going to cut it down to the size of the card. But then what you're also going to do is you're going to turn the card and you're going to try to cut a little bit more of the stabilizer as close to the outer stitches that you can without cutting the stitches. Now, the only reason you're doing that is because you want to expose the card. You don't want the stabilizer, because when you use the double-sided tape, you want it to be able to adhere to the card. That way it stays in place a little bit better. But, you know, there's some designs that are pretty much, you know, to the edge. Let me see. Like this one here, I didn't have too much space to be able to cut a lot of stabilizer because the design pretty much is spread out to the end. But I was able to cut enough, just enough so that the tape touches the back of this card and goes against the other card. And that way it just stays in place better. But that was it. You know, once you do that, you have now put the card together and you have yourself some really neat cards that you can give as a gift. Or you can go ahead and you can put these, you know, in a frame, like I said, or, you know, there's so many possibilities of doing this. Another option that you have that I've seen on here as well is some people use all kinds of embellishments to put on top of that. So I've seen things like rhinestones. I've seen things like felt. Some people use felt to embroider certain pieces of it. It's almost like applique, but you're using felt. So there's so many things that you can do. And I have a few more things to tell you, but let me just stop and look at the chat because I know I have given you a lot of information. Let's see. Go back up. Okay. Okay, so Bariko is asking, how did you hoop the card? So again, hooping the card, you don't hoop the card itself. You hoop the stabilizer, and then you put it in the machine and have it do the placement stitch. After the placement stitch, then you take the KK2000 spray, and then you put the card on to the hoop on top of the stabilizer, and you put it back in the machine and let it finish doing its thing. Okay, let's see. Sketch embroidery design should work well with cards. Yes, that's one of the ones that you will want to select. Again, you don't want anything that is very dense because it will rip the card. I was a little worried about this design because it did have a lot of little clouds in it, like these little things, but it ended up being okay. But had I not used the right paper for this, then I definitely would have seen some tearing going on here. And you don't want that to happen right in the middle of your project. So, you know, that's something you gotta look out for. Okay, Evelyn says, I did my cards with fabric, sort of quilting ideas. Yes, that's another one you can do, is with fabric. It's like an applique. I've seen it done with felt, you know, so that's kind of like a cheaper alternative. And again, you can get tons of felt from the dollar store. I got actually a couple of rolls from the dollar store not too long ago. So that, was something that I was able to pick up, and I'm sure you guys can find tons of felt or just pieces of fabric from your stash. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on this. Really, the only thing you really have to purchase is the cardstock if you don't have a heavyweight at home. Stabilizers, if you're someone who embroiders, you've got tons of stabilizers. I'm sure you have the sprays, so you just got to look for the design that you want to use. So it's a really inexpensive gift, and it's something that they can treasure for a really long time. Let's see. 1 minute tips. Hi, I love your ideas. Use your coupons. Yes, Michael's has coupons, but again, if you're watching this live, they're having a buy one get one free on the cardstock paper. So check your local Michael's store. Let's see. Crafty Puerto Rican says, love my Michael coupons. I had no idea they offered senior discounts. I can use them now, so I'm on it. Yes, use them. Get every coupon you can. Awesome. Okay. 1 minute tips. Let's give Nancy. Oh, no, thank you. 1 minute tips. Yeah, if you like the video, if you like the content that I'm giving, please go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. It really, really helps me out a lot. And thank you guys so much. Okay. So, a couple more things that I want to just let you know on this. So, we use the double-sided tape to the backing for the cards. One more thing that I do, and this kind of sounds a little crazy, but I do take the card and I bring it over to the iron. So I use a dry iron, no steam, just a dry iron. And you just press it just to set the stitches in place. And it's just not for a long time, just, very lightly put it on here, and I just ironed it in place. It just made it a little better. I know it's kind of weird while you're ironing paper, but yeah, you're just really setting the stitches, and it's not for a long time. It's just to set the stitches. So don't burn your paper there. Okay. Now, one more thing. When you're done with your project, and you may make a few cards while you're at it, I want to remind you guys, you just embroidered on paper. So change your needle. Change your needle. Do not stay with the same needle. You just embroidered a bunch of cardstock. So you definitely would want to change your needle after you've done this project, because you don't want to then put in a really beautiful piece of fabric and it get ruined because your needle's dull, and because it will dull your needle. Not too bad. I mean, I've made these 4 and I changed my needle after that. So it's just preference, but good practice. Change the needle after the project, because it is, it's pretty tough on the needle. It is heavy cardstock. And once you get that cardstock paper and you feel how heavy it is, you'll realize, yeah, you're going to want to change your needle after that. So it's definitely something that you want to do. And then again, embellishments. You can put rhinestones on them. You can put, there's so many things, little lace things. I've seen people do some amazing jobs on these cards. One of the other things that I've seen, and I have the design, but I'm probably going to stitch that out next, is doing a bookmark. You guys know I love to read. I love to do all kinds of things with books. I have tons of them. So I wanted to create some bookmarks, and you can attach the little ribbons, and little things that, put a little charm on it. They can make really great gifts. And especially for kids that love to read, there's so many different things that you can put their name on it. You can just do a really simple little border. There's just very simple designs that you can do. So, that's just something, that I wanted to share this with you guys. I thought it was a really fun project. And, I have some events coming up, so I knew I had to make some cards. And I usually will, break out my Cricut machine and start making cards for birthdays, anniversaries, you know, so many events that are happening. But this time I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I thought this is a great way to share that with someone who could then keep this card and use this as some type of decoration for their home. So just an idea that I wanted to give to you guys. So one of the other things that I did was I just want to show you a couple items that I purchased while I was out getting some supplies. Let me just clear this out. Okay. So I did stop in Hobby Lobby and I purchased some fabric that I just wanted to share with you because I just went over the weekend, or actually in the past week, and the Hobby Lobby, if you're watching this live in our area, they have all the Christmas fabrics 50% off. So if you're looking to get some fabrics for the holidays, for some projects that you want to do, this is a great time. It's 50% off on their holiday fabrics, and then it was 40% off on the other fabrics. So good time to go. If you didn't know, you may want to stop by and take a look, see what they have. So I just picked up, nothing's too grand. I just wanted to get some Christmas colors. So I picked up just a yard of this green, and then I picked up a yard of this red color, just because I know I'm going to probably end up doing some type of project. And I do already have a lot of fabrics, so I didn't want to go too crazy. And just getting the solid colors, I might just try to quilt something. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it, so I just got a yard of it each. And that cost me, had it here, I ended up getting these for $3.49 for the yard. The regular price is $6.99 a yard. So not too bad of a deal. I mean, it's half off, so, you may want to check it out, see what they have. They have prints and all kinds. They have panels too, but I'm not sure if the panels were on sale or part of the sale. It may be, but wasn't really looking for panels. I have enough of them. So one of the other fabrics that I got was just this pretty one here. I got the pretty colors. I thought they were really nice, and I can make something. I'm thinking to make a bag with this. So thought it was really pretty. That's just something that I picked up. Alrighty. Now, other projects that I'm working on. Let me just give you a recap on those. I am doing a table runner for my mom. And I bought this table runner from Hobby Lobby. All of their spring items were like 60%, then it was 75%. Now, I mean, they're practically trying to get rid of all the spring stuff. So this was from the spring shop. It's Hobby Lobby. The original price was $29.99, and I got it for like 75% off. So it's, pretty cheap, but it is linen. So you know how linen is, wrinkly, so it's a little maintenance on there. But I wanted to try to embroider something for my mom. And I did pick a design that just said Puerto Rico on it. I haven't finished it yet, so I just did one side that said Puerto Rico. And I thought she would really like it. So I got the little flag, and it has kind of some zigzaggy type stitches towards the edge to give it a little bit of that color flair. So let me make this a little closer so you guys could see it. Here. So I thought it was really cute. She's from Puerto Rico, for those of you who don't know. So I thought I would make her a really cute table runner. So this was just one side that I did. I did use tearaway stabilizer with it, and it stitched out pretty nice. So I was happy with that. I'm going to do a couple more designs before I finish it off. and then I'll give it to her. So there's a few things that I'll be looking for. Alrighty, let me just check now. Let's see. Alrighty. Robin says, I think the card is a great idea. Awesome. Nana says, very pretty. 1 minute tip said you had me at 75% off. Yeah, that'll do it every time. Robin says, that's really nice. Barika Sewing and Crafts. Do the croquette. Oh, do the coquille on the other side. Yeah, I did get a design with a coquille, so that's what I want to put on the other side. And then I'm going to see if I put something in the middle. But in the middle one, I want it to be a little bigger, so I'm trying to figure out what I can do for that. But I think this is where I'm going to be giving her. I think it's coming out nice. Let's see. I need to make one of those table runners for me. Oh, Bariko wants one. Uh-oh. Well, one might be coming your way. Let's see. Nice. Nana says, nice table runner, great price. Yeah. You know, one thing to always look out for when you go to these stores is when a new holiday is coming up. Because they always want to clear their shelves of the last holiday to bring on the new stuff. So that's when a lot of that stuff starts going on sale. So you got to kind of just keep going to the store to see, and you'll start seeing the signs pop up. Oh, 50% off, and then the next week 75% off. So it'll, you know, they always want to get rid of that merchandise because it's taking up space in their store, and they want to bring on the new stuff. So, you know, what I like to look for, like this was for the spring shop, but it's like a beige color. So you could use this at any time of the year. This isn't only for spring, you know, but, you know, they consider it that. So it was on sale, but you can get items that are season specific for them, but they are pretty much like plain or something that you could use for other seasons. So like one example is like buffalo check. You always see buffalo check for this, for that. Buffalo check could be for any season. It could be for Christmas, it could be for Thanksgiving. There's so many different things that you could do with that buffalo check style that, you know, you can take these things and use them around for any season and it will work. So when I look for these things that are on sale, I always look for things like this that, you know, they consider this spring, but there's nothing spring about this. It doesn't have any flowers or anything on it. It's just a plain tablecloth. So I'm like, this is perfect because, you know, you can use this and I could embroider it to be anything I want. I could put flowers and make it spring. I could make it Christmas. I can make it Thanksgiving. I can make it whatever I want. You know, so it's something that you can buy and, you know, use up for any occasion. So I thought that was pretty neat. And then the last thing I want to show you guys is one of the things that I'm kind of dabbling with. And this is quilting with your embroidery machine. And I wish I would have stitched it out with a darker stitch for you to see it better. So I'm going to try to raise it to see if you guys could see that. So if you could see it stitched out a flower. And I think it was really neat. It's another little project that I'm working on where you could actually quilt using your embroidery machine. And I'm dabbling with that and making a couple of little things. This was just something that I made really quick just to show you guys. And if I flip it over, you can see the batting is on this side. And you can see, probably you can see the stitches a little bit better here. So you could see it's a little flower, and there's so many different things that you can do with this. I mean, you can quilt on your embroidery machine. I was floored when I saw that. I was like, wow, that's really, really nice. You know, you have your free motion quilting that you can do with some of your sewing machines, but you can quilt using your embroidery machine. And I'm going to do a couple more projects with that. so that I can show you guys how I did that. So that'll be coming up soon. And then we'll kind of take you through it step by step and show you how I was able to do some of these projects. So that's it, guys. That's all I had. Let me see if we have any questions out there. Boricua says it can be a heirloom family table runner. Absolutely. Robin says, beautiful quilting. I love using the embroidery machine for quilting. Yes, it's amazing. Okay, now that's a super awesome idea, Nancy. 1 minute tips are awesome. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys really enjoyed the channel. I know I'm trying to improve more and more all the time with trivia questions and fun things that we can interact with. If you haven't already, please join my Facebook group as well. I try to put some things and deals whenever I see them. I'll try to post them out there just in more real time so you guys are aware. If, you know, something goes on sale, you may be looking out for it. I'll let you know. And, you know, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really, we've reached over 600 subscribers, and I'm really excited about that. And we have our goal to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. So I'm really hoping that I make that goal. And I want to thank you all so much for all of your support. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend and holiday, and take care. I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye.